The Locker Number 57 Mystery, the high school secret no one saw coming. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed, because what you're about to hear started as a school rumor, grew into a cold case, and ended with a discovery so disturbing it changed a town forever. This is the true story of the Locker 57 Mystery, the secret no one saw coming. It began in the fall of 1998 at Winston High School, a quiet school tucked inside a small Illinois suburb. Back then, Winston was like any other American school. Football posters taped to lockers, teachers drinking burnt coffee, kids rushing through hallways pretending not to care about anything. But there was one thing everyone knew: Locker 57. The locker had been sealed shut since the early 90s. Students whispered about it constantly. Some said a kid had drugs in there. Others said someone died inside it. Teachers rolled their eyes, but everyone avoided that section of the hall. Freshmen walked around it. Seniors slapped the metal door as they passed, daring each other to open it. But the truth was worse than any rumor they ever imagined. For years, Locker 57 sat untouched. Dust on the vents, gum stuck to the bottom, and yet every so often, students reported something strange. The faint sound of knocking. Not loud, just a soft, rhythmic tap-tap-tap. Janitors blamed pipes. Counselors blamed imagination. But in the fall of '98, a new janitor noticed something odd. The lock on Locker 57 wasn't school-issued. It had been welded shut from the inside. He reported it, but the administration told him to leave old things alone. So he did, until the day everything unraveled. It started when a freshman named Kyle Jennings was caught sneaking around the abandoned locker. Kyle wasn't a troublemaker. He was quiet, shy, always carrying a camcorder around, documenting everything. When a teacher asked what he was doing, Kyle said he heard someone whisper his name from inside Locker 57. They laughed and sent him to class. But the next day, Kyle disappeared. He never made it home after school. His backpack was found behind the gym. His bike was still chained near the parking lot. And his camcorder, his prized possession, was discovered on a table in the cafeteria. The last clip recorded? A 12-second video. Kyle walking down the hall toward Locker 57, whispering, barely audible, "I hear it again." Then a faint tapping sound. Then static. The camera cut out. Police swarmed the building. Every locker was opened except one, Locker 57. They brought in a welder. When sparks flew and metal peeled back, a rancid smell flooded the hallway. Inside the locker was a narrow metal shaft, a crawl space leading downward, a hidden gap between the old wall and the new renovation from 1986, large enough for a person to fit into. And inside that crawl space, they found bones. Small ones. Human. A forensic team confirmed the remains belonged to a teenage boy reported missing in 1986, Evan Parker, a sophomore who disappeared the week before Christmas break. Evan had been quiet, much like Kyle. He loved drawing, loved reading horror novels, and was bullied relentlessly. His final months were filled with complaints about being followed, hearing voices, and feeling watched. The school counselor dismissed him as imaginative. The day he went missing, his notebook was found near the art room. It contained one chilling sentence repeated over and over: "He watches from the walls." Police now believed Evan had crawled into the construction shaft, maybe hiding from bullies, and gotten trapped. But as detectives studied the crawl space, the theory didn't match the evidence. The bones had been deliberately moved, some wrapped in old cloth, arranged in a corner, as if placed there, not fallen. And there were more unsettling details. Nearby, investigators found scraps of fabric that matched a janitor's uniform from the 1980s, a rusted flashlight, and near the bones, carved into the metal wall, 3 words, asterisk, "Not alone down here." Asterisk. The school shut down for a full week. Parents demanded answers. Teachers refused to speak to media. The town descended into panic. Who welded the locker shut? Why didn't the school report Evan's disappearance sooner? And what happened to Kyle? For 2 months, the police searched everywhere: woods, sewers, abandoned houses, but Kyle was never found. People assumed he was gone forever. But then in January 1999, an elderly man named Oliver Briggs showed up at the police station, trembling, carrying a box. Oliver was the janitor who worked at Winston High in the 80s. He had suffered a stroke years earlier and rarely spoke. But now he was frantic, desperate. Inside the box were old cassette tapes, dozens of them, each labeled with dates from 1984 to 1987, each containing recordings he claimed he made to prove he wasn't crazy. On the tapes were hours of ambient noise from inside the school, creaks, footsteps, voices, whispers. But one tape stood out, dated December 15th, 1986, the day Evan disappeared. The recording started with the sound of Oliver dragging supplies down the hall. Then a faint voice. "Please. I'm stuck, someone," Oliver called out to Evan on the recording. Evan said, "The wall closed. I can't see." Then a second voice echoed, low, calm, not human-like, almost mechanical. "Stay with me," it said. Oliver dropped his recorder. You could hear it skitter across the floor. Then Oliver sobbing, "I'll get help." But he didn't. When the police asked why he never reported it, Oliver broke down. "I told the principal. I told her he was trapped. She said it was impossible. She told me to forget it." The principal from 1986 had died years earlier. Police searched her home and found something disturbing in her attic. Blueprints of Winston High's original structure. They revealed a network of narrow utility corridors behind the walls, built for maintenance access in the 60s, but sealed illegally during renovation. One corridor ran directly behind Locker 57, the perfect hidden space, the perfect hiding place, and the perfect tomb. Detectives now believed Evan had been trapped, but not alone. Someone else had used the corridors. Someone who knew the layout better than anyone. Someone who knew which walls were thin enough to listen through. Someone who may have been watching children for decades. The investigation turned to former staff, custodians, construction workers, teachers, anyone with keys and unrestricted access. One name kept coming up. Harold Klein, a maintenance worker fired in 1987 for inappropriate behavior with students. He vanished after his termination and was never seen again. Police suspected he lived in the walls for months during the renovation, using the secret corridors to navigate the building at night. But there was no proof he ever left the area. Then in February 1999, a break. A utility crew repairing an old drainage pipe beneath the school discovered a sealed-off concrete room. Inside were blankets, cans of food from the 1980s, and a rusted knife. They also found a notebook. Inside were sketches, dozens of them, of the hallways above, drawings of lockers, arrows pointing to Locker 57, and on the final page, a chilling line. "The quiet ones always hear me first." DNA on the blankets was inconclusive, but hair fibers found matched both Evan Parker and Kyle Jennings. The town realized the unimaginable. Kyle hadn't just disappeared. He was taken by someone who lived beneath the school years ago. Someone who may have returned. The locker became a crime scene again. They tore up the entire floor. They scanned every inch with ground-penetrating radar. And 2 days later, they found a second crawl space, one deeper, hidden behind pipes. Inside it were fresh shoe prints, Kyle's backpack, and a message etched in the dust. "He follows the quiet." The school permanently closed that spring. The government ordered it demolished. But before demolition, workers discovered one last thing. Behind the old cafeteria wall, they found a narrow wooden door, rotted, chained shut. When they broke the chain, they expected an empty space. Instead, they found a small room filled with hundreds of Polaroids. Photos of students from every decade, walking the halls, sitting in class, eating lunch, taken through cracks in walls and vents. Someone had been watching the school for nearly 40 years. Kyle's photo was the last one, dated the day he vanished. He was walking toward Locker 57, looking over his shoulder, eyes wide, terrified. Kyle was never found. Authorities believe he was taken into the wall network and moved through old drainage tunnels by someone who knew every hidden passage. The town built a memorial for both boys. Every year, on the anniversary of their disappearance, students gather with candles where the school once stood. Locals swear that at night, you can still hear tapping beneath the ground. Soft, rhythmic, like someone knocking from below. Some say it's the boys. Others say it's the man who lived in the walls. But one thing is certain, Locker 57 wasn't just a locker. It was a doorway, and someone was waiting behind it. If this story shook you, subscribe, because next time, we're entering another cold case that refused to stay buried, and the one clue that changed everything.